In February 2024, an international law enforcement coalition executed Operation Cronos. They infiltrated the core infrastructure of the LockBit ransomware syndicate, seized their databases, and took their administration panels offline. Led by the UK's National Crime Agency, authorities disrupted the network, obtained the private decryption keys, and distributed them to victims. Simultaneously, the U.S. Department of Justice and its partners published LockBit's internal affiliate data and exposed years of private negotiation chat logs to the public. Despite this global disruption, the group's core developers survived. By late 2025, LockBit resurfaced for its 6th anniversary with version 5.0, a completely overhauled cross-platform codebase. Taking down the servers of a decentralized ransomware-as-a-service operation often proves temporary. These incidents force the developers to patch their vulnerabilities and release a more refined iteration of their malware. LockBit 5.0 operates as an integrated criminal service, sharing botnets, infrastructure, and data with allied groups like Killin and DragonForce. Their primary targets are high-availability sectors, where downtime carries catastrophic costs. When an automotive manufacturing plant is locked out of its systems, the financial impact is instantaneous. Multinational corporations are subjected to triple and quadruple extortion tactics. If initial encryption and data leaks fail to secure a payout, affiliates launch DDoS attacks on public portals and directly harass clients to force compliance. Defeating this threat requires dissecting the modernized LockBit execution chain. We must map their step-by-step methodology to extract the specific behavioral telemetry points that a security operations center can use to spot an intrusion. Because LockBit attacks occur at an industrialized scale, defenders must abandon the idea of a perfectly secure perimeter and operate under the assumption of continuous breach. The modern attack does not start with a brute force hack of a firewall. Affiliates purchase initial access from brokers who have already compromised internet-facing edge devices. The attacker phases right through the external defenses using authorized credentials. These brokers heavily target unpatched vulnerabilities in systems like FortiGate VPNs. Alternatively, they use generative AI to clone executive voices, socially engineering help desks into resetting passwords over the phone. Once inside, the attacker employs a tactic called living off the land. Instead of dropping custom malware, they weaponize the native administrative tools already installed on the operating system. By executing commands through PowerShell and Windows management instrumentation, the attacker establishes persistence and moves laterally across the network. Their activity mimics a system administrator performing routine maintenance. Because these tools are digitally signed by the operating system vendor, traditional antivirus software often remains silent during the initial breach phase. To escalate privileges, LockBit 5.0 obscures its internal commands. Instead of calling Windows APIs directly, it resolves these functions by converting target names into cryptographic hashes. It then utilizes API trampolines, bouncing the execution flow through secondary proxy blocks to disorient static analysis tools. Next, the malware acquires administrative rights. It locates a highly privileged system process, like explorer.exe, and executes a token duplication attack to steal its access rights. It achieves identity theft by abusing specific internal Windows functions, calling ZWA Open Process Token to access target credentials and NT Duplicate Token to copy them onto the malicious thread. By weaponizing the operating system's own memory and credential architecture, LockBit can achieve domain admin status while bypassing many signature-based detection tools. Endpoint detection and response solutions rely on a core Windows component called Event Tracing for Windows, or ETW. This is the primary telemetry engine that records system behavior. LockBit 5.0 locates the memory space where this event tracing process operates. It surgically overwrites the first instruction, instantly halting the flow of telemetry data. Specifically, it targets the ETW Event Write API, injecting a 0xC3 return command to force the function to exit before logging activity. Simultaneously, the malware scans against a hard-coded list of 63 hashes for security and backup software. Any matched service is instantly terminated. LockBit 5.0 proactively disables the system's ability to record the attack, blinding security software to its presence. With the defenses disabled, the final payload executes. Files are locked using a modified Salsa-20 algorithm, and the encryption keys are secured using an unpadded RSA 1024 public key. Version 5.0 introduces an invisible mode. This setting suppresses ransom notes and preserves original modification timestamps of targeted files to delay incident response. When a victim pays, the ransom enters an industrialized laundering pipeline. The payment is rapidly shattered across massive cryptocurrency exchanges to obscure the money trail. A small percentage of funds is routed to long-lived wallets. The remainder is funneled through high-volume collector addresses, some processing over 200,000 Bitcoin before reaching the affiliate. Because the encryption process is silent and the financial payout is automated, defenders must sever the kill chain before the attacker initiates this final stage. Defeating living off the land tactics begins with defensive architecture. Organizations must implement strict identity verification and attack surface reduction. This requires enforcing aggressive patching SLAs for internet-facing edge devices. Known vulnerabilities in hardware like FortiGate VPNs and firewalls must be closed as soon as a patch becomes available. Standard authentication is no longer sufficient. Networks must migrate to phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication, such as FIDO2 hardware keys, to block adversary-in-the-middle credential theft. Hardening the perimeter strips away the initial access broker's easiest routes. To gain entry, attackers are forced to use noisier exploit paths that are more easily detectable. Once inside the network, static malware signatures provide little protection against LockBit 5.0. Endpoint detection and response tools must be configured to flag specific behavioral anomalies in memory. Analysts monitor customized telemetry for unauthorized alterations to memory protection. Catch NT-Protect virtual memory calls targeting the NTDLL library. Defenders must also establish custom alerts for anomalous process token duplications. A low-privilege application targeting Explorer.exe to copy access rights is a primary compromise indicator. Detecting LockBit requires a shift in defensive methodology. Analysts must move from searching for malicious files to hunting for legitimate processes behaving erratically. If the attacker bypasses memory monitoring, they will eventually execute the system commands required to deploy the final payload. Defenders must aggressively flag command line activity attempting to delete volume shadow copies. Executions of system tools like VSS admin mean a ransomware deployment is imminent. The ultimate indicator is the self-deletion command. LockBit utilizes fsutil.exe to overwrite its data. An intrusion is actively concluding. LockBit's transition to a highly organized cross-platform syndicate requires organizations to prioritize continuous behavioral security validation over file-based signatures. Surviving the LockBit empire is not about building an impenetrable wall. It is about architecting an environment where the adversary's own evasion tools eventually trigger their discovery.